Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you've ever found yourself just staring up at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, your brain suddenly deciding it's the absolute perfect time to review every single mistake you've made since 2014, well, you know exactly how elusive sleep can be. Today, we're going to unpack something truly fascinating. We are looking at the specific anatomy of a structured bedtime prayer, drawing directly from our source material to see exactly how it uses biblical scripture and thematic petitions to transform a restless mind into a state of deep, peaceful sleep. Honestly, it's a masterclass in shifting your mental state. To figure out how this works, we're going to map the text out into 5 clear sections. We've got the burden of the day, anchoring in scripture, surrendering earthly anxieties, the shield of protection, and finally, seeking peaceful rest. Let's just jump right in. All right, starting right at the beginning with section 1, the burden of the day, where we acknowledge the restless mind. You really can't fix a problem until you identify it, right? And this text definitely doesn't shy away from the reality of daytime exhaustion. Just look at the stark contrast painted here. On one side, you have the very real components of a restless mind laid out: anxiety, grief, stress, terrors, and even the feeling of being targeted by the schemes of the devil. But on the flip side, the rested soul promises sweet sleep, heavenly calmness, perfect peace, and waking up refreshed. It's literally mapping out the journey from absolute inner turmoil to total spiritual tranquility. So how exactly does it trigger that journey? Well, based on Matthew 11, the prayer immediately lays out a super active 3-step progression. Step 1, come weary and burdened. Step 2, take Christ's yoke upon you. And step 3, find rest for your souls. The huge takeaway here is that finding rest isn't just passing out. It requires an intentional act. You actually have to actively bring your exhaustion forward to even begin the process of laying it down. Which brings us perfectly to section 2, anchoring in scripture. This really serves as the foundation of the whole prayer. Moving on from identifying the problem, the source material doesn't just offer empty positive thinking. It relies on specific verses as foundational anchors. Take Matthew 6:34, for example. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. This is a brilliant grounding strategy. It basically acts as a hard stop for a wandering brain. It's reminding the listener to stop projecting their worries into tomorrow, essentially saying, hey, today's troubles were plenty. You do not need to borrow tomorrow's problems tonight. Then it stacks that idea with this quote from Psalm 4:8. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Notice what it's doing here. It's directly linking the physical act of lying down to sleep with the spiritual assurance of divine safety. Pairing that physical posture of rest directly with an emotional state of peace is an incredibly effective way to tell your nervous system, okay, it's safe to stand down. And by reinforcing this sequence with Proverbs 3:24, the prayer creates what is essentially a formidable wall of scripture. It actively programs the mind for sleep that is totally free from fear and disturbing cares. By repeatedly exposing the listener to these authoritative statements of peace, the text builds a psychological environment where fear simply doesn't have the oxygen to survive. Let's move along to section 3, surrendering earthly anxieties, which is all about letting go of control. Once the mind is anchored, the text directs the listener to actively surrender the specific, tangible things that actually keep us awake at night. It explicitly calls out these everyday stressors: finances, work, family issues, the crazy state of the surrounding world, and general grief or stress. What's absolutely vital here is the acknowledgement that these things are entirely out of our control while we are lying in bed, so they have to be handed over. The prayer isn't pretending these issues don't exist, it's actively categorizing them as burdens that need to be transferred to a higher power. As you mentally cast those burdens away, the prayer pivots beautifully with this direct question taken from Psalm 121, where does my help come from? This is such a smart rhetorical device within the text. It completely shifts your focus away from the earthly problems we just listed and redirects your gaze upward toward heavenly solutions. And answering that very question leads us right into section 4, the shield of protection, where we invoke spiritual defense. Now that the burdens are surrendered, the prayer dives deep into powerful defense mechanisms against nightmares, nighttime perils, and darkness. It leans heavily on this rich, comforting imagery, referring to the divine as the shepherd of my soul, a shepherd who never slumbers nor sleeps.
This is deeply comforting because it assures the listener that while they're vulnerable and resting, there is a constant, unblinking vigilance watching over them, even if they feel like they are walking through the valley of the shadow of death. It also uses highly defensive, almost militaristic metaphors, referring to Jehovah as a fortress and shield. It frames the pursuit of sleep almost like seeking refuge inside an impenetrable stronghold. This guards against evil, darkness, and any perceived spiritual attacks in the middle of the night. It's basically telling the listener, you are not just resting, you are safely hidden away.
The crucial point is captured so perfectly in this line from the text: "The Lion of the tribe of Judah watches over me." By invoking images of such immense power and authority, the prayer actively replaces any lingering feelings of nighttime vulnerability with a profound sense of majestic, unbeatable protection. I mean, it's pretty hard for a restless mind to feel anxious when it believes a literal lion is standing guard at the door. Which finally brings us to Section 5, Seeking Peaceful Rest, the ultimate spiritual goal. So, after acknowledging the burden, anchoring the mind, surrendering the daily worries, and establishing a formidable shield of protection, the prayer reaches its ultimate objective. Looking at these exact petitions, it's clear the goal isn't just to achieve unconsciousness, it's aiming for a deeply restorative, spiritually refreshing experience. It asks for heavenly calmness even amidst trouble, dreams that actually renew the spirit rather than cause stress, waking up totally refreshed in body and soul, and creating an atmosphere filled with a holy presence. It is highly intentional about the quality of the sleep being sought. And the whole thing wraps up beautifully grounded in this ancient blessing from number 6. I pray that you bless me, I pray that you keep me, Lord, may your face shine on me and give me peace. This perfectly encapsulates the entire journey of the text. It finalizes that transition from the day's weariness and trouble right into the ultimate comfort of divine peace. It's like a closing seal of safety on the night. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to reflect on. We've just analyzed a very specific, structured approach to surrender and faith. Regardless of where you're coming from, just consider the mechanics of it. If you were to intentionally hand over your daily burdens tonight, using a structured release, kind of like what we've seen, how might that transform the quality of your own rest? Definitely something to think about the next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling.